Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Cast 5 Reviews. My name is Faiz, and I'm joined today by my lovely castmates, Daniel and Rohan.
Yo.
So today, I know we're slightly late, but we really wanted to discuss the Matrix Resurrections. We had a review planned for a while, never got a chance to actually do it, but now we're gonna sit down and just kind of go through our thoughts and reactions to this once upon a time. I'm not gonna say perfect trilogy. It has a lot of its own issues, but a trilogy that I personally don't believe that really needed a sequel. But here we are. So
movie didn't need a fourth movie.
Oh, 100%, right? It seems like WB is just on this tangent to release movies that don't really need sequels, like Space Jam 2. We have this.
I forgot about that.
Oh, it's all this year, man. Conjuring 3, that was no way in shape and form deserving to be called a sequel to the first two. And here we are. Matrix Resurrections. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of facts about actually all four movies. So, the first Matrix, as we all know, was revolutionary. It was released at least here in the North Americas, March 31st, 1999. And on a budget of 63 million, box office was 466 million. So, needless to say, it was a huge hit. Got tons of awards. Won four Academy Awards for best visuals, best film editing, best sound, and best sound editing. Then a few years later, roughly around 4 years later, we ended up receiving The Matrix Reloaded. Budget of 127 million and made a box office of 741 million. So, a huge success. Huge success.
Pretty impressive.
I know. Did you guys, before I continue with Revolutions, did you guys watch Reloaded when it first came out, or did you guys watch it later on like Blu-ray, streaming services, things like that? Ryan, what about? Let's start with you.
Yeah, Daniel.
Ryan, with you first.
Oh, I thought you said Daniel. Shows how much I watched it actually on like later releases, not in theaters, but especially, and also Matrix Revolutions.
Yeah,
was the third one, right? Yeah, also on video release, right? So I didn't actually see all of them in the theaters. I didn't get an opportunity to do that. Like later on, actually, I just saw them like at home and on Blu-ray and whatnot. That's how I saw it. Except for the fourth one.
we'll get to that. We'll get to that. What about you?
Yeah, like all the rest I saw on, especially even Matrix, the first Matrix I saw on I think it was Peachtree TV. Remember that? Yeah, I think that was the first time I saw Matrix. So, yeah, that's where I saw them.
What about you,
Daniel? How about you?
What year did the third movie come out?
The third movie came out actually also 2003. Release date November 5th.
Because it came out very soon after the second one, right? Because then they shot as kind of
back to back
one movie. And
so it was probably just after that, because I remember watching them. It was back in the day when we had all the different DVDs. We used to put them in it was DVD pouch books, and that would be a DVD collection. So I was flicking through that one day as a kid, and I was like, Matrix movies, okay, yeah, I'll try those. And I think I just watched all of them in one day. I definitely watched the first one. I might have watched the second and third. They definitely was all 3 discs. I remember that. But I don't really remember much of the second and third one, maybe because they weren't that great compared to the first one, and I kind of just blocked them out and just enjoyed the first one. But yeah, I never watched them in the theaters, nothing like that.
So the third movie, budget of 110 to 50 million, and made 427, considerably less than what
it was. It was kind of like a taper down. I think really the Matrix, as a whole was mostly bolstered off of the success and the notoriety of the first one. And the second one was good enough for like satiating like people's appetites, but like it definitely wasn't to the hype and the expectations of what the first one brought, right? But ever since then, it was really just going off of the momentum of the first one for the most part, I think.
Did you guys ever play the Matrix Online video game?
No.
No.
But apparently there's like a lot, or at least enough tie-in stuff.
It's canon.
Like specific, like it's canon. Yeah, that's actually a good way of saying it. Especially oh god, what was that one guy that that martial arts guy with the glasses that protects the Oracle. Apparently he's like
the Asian guy.
Yeah, he was fleshed out a lot apparently in the online game.
They also explained how Morpheus died in the game as well.
Yes, they did.
It was also left a little ambiguous, so everyone was kind of hoping he would be in the new movie as Lawrence Fishburne, but yeah, I guess that didn't happen.
That was not meant to be. What we got instead. Well,
so here's the thing. The reception, as you guys have said, like this is just. I watched Revolutions. Actually, I watched Reloaded in 2003. Revolutions. I watched it a year after, and I distinctly remember when I wanted to watch Revolutions. It wasn't. I did catch it on a bootleg DVD that we had. We borrowed from a friend to finish off
you didn't own it because you don't own bootleg stuff, do you?
No, everything.
Everything
Everything is generally we purchase all the DVDs and Blu-rays, right? Well, no longer Blu-rays, it's more digital or streaming. But I remember I did not like Reloaded at all. I didn't like the fact how they were expanding the universe, and they sort of just made it the fact that this is just one of the 6 matrices that has happened in the past, and it kind of just took that away. The whole point of being Neo, the one, all of a sudden just became you're no longer an anomaly. You're an anomaly in a bigger. You're an anomaly that is accounted for in a bigger picture, and I did not like that. Until Revolutions came in, and I know Revolutions, I only truly liked the last fight between Neo and Agent Smith, because it was
Ball Z.
yes, it reminded me of Dragon Ball Z, and other than that, that was it. There was no other anything major towards it, because like when you look at Revolutions, it's mostly focused on Zion, and I'm pretty sure between you three, the Zion element or the humans being used as batteries, I don't really know if that's really a very riveting storyline that they think that it is. I think more of the fact of being in the Matrix and the stuff that you can do and kind of
it's so much cooler. It's so much cooler,
right? So that's the thing. Now, moving on to Resurrections. So much hope. December 22nd, 2021. Budget of 190 million. More, 190. More than all 3. Not combined, but separately.
Yeah.
And box office of 106.
Wow, is that it?
106. It is not the.
I don't know whether it's also it came out the same time as Spider-Man, and that is very tough competition to come up against.
The difference
it
is
also came behind Sing too, which is
yeah.
If there ever was a film,
if you can't even beat an animated musical, then
if there was a film like in terms of like a legacy film, like in terms of like a sequel kind of film to do well against a Marvel property or a Disney Marvel property would be Matrix.
Yeah,
but it just didn't cut it.
Yeah.
It really overall, it wasn't the the revitalization
that they were hoping for.
that it was going to be like those. Yeah, well, you're right. What it was hoping
It
for.
wasn't
It
the
just really wasn't.
resurrection they were hoping for.
It's
And
not-
the resurrection was just was just like what's it called? Just a squeegee board, man, kind of thing, bro. But there was hope there. Some things were kind of cool about it. There's certain honestly there's some like actors in it and whatnot that I actually kind of liked. The guy that was playing Agent Smith, I like him. I like that actor. He's really cool.
Mhm.
It's one from
Okay.
Mindhunter, right?
Yeah.
I love my editor, man. Maybe it's just that we're like I'm forever into that guy and his acting ability. The guy who played Morpheus, I mean, like he did what he could with the part, right? But like you could tell, man, they were just like grasping at anything to try to get you into the film, right? To try like, hey, here's Morpheus, he's back. It was just like, nah, like he, oh god, I should have actually researched the actor's name, but like,
Well, an interesting take on that. I did some research because I had a couple of questions about the film that I was like, I need to find out.
Mm.
So, Lawrence Fishburne was not asked to come back at all.
Yeah, he was just replaced
He
by
did an interview, and
Yahya Abdul Mateen the second.
he basically was told that he wasn't even considered in the screenwriting process or anything like that. They planned not to have him in the movie. However, Agent Smith,
Was asked.
I'm blanking on the actor's name.
oh, Viggo Mortensen.
That's it.
Yeah.
Was asked to be in it, and he was originally going to be in it, but there was a scheduling conflict that took him. He said, reading the interview, it said it took him about 8 weeks to figure out the scheduling issue, and in that 8 weeks, Lana Wachowski decided, nah, I'm writing up the movie.
Mm-hmm.
The thing was too, I saw some breaking downs of some trailers, and they were looking at some parts where like Neo was looking at himself in the mirror, and you saw some like some effects where like his face looked like an old Viggo
Hugo Weaving. Yeah.
Hugo Weaving.
Hugo Weaving.
Hugo Weaving. That's
You're thinking of Aragon.
Yeah, that was fucking hell. Sorry. Thank you, guys. Yeah, Hugo Weaving, right? And like, yeah, they showed some effects where like Neo looked like he was like translucent and stuff, and then like his face morphed and it looked like an old Hugo Weaving in the mirror. And I was like, oh, that's pretty freaking neat. And people were hoping that he was actually going to be in it, but it turns out he wasn't anyways either. So
now the reception itself, as you guys can tell with the box office that it's done, it hasn't been really great. To a point where they've gone ahead and come out and said that they are no longer pursuing any further sequels. So this really is a nail to the coffin to Once Upon a Time. An imperfect trilogy, but a trilogy nonetheless that kind of resolved everything. And now, with this resurrection of this old franchise, you can truly ask yourself one simple question, and I'm going to ask both of you the same thing. Was this movie necessary? With the plot?
Hardly no.
What about you, Daniel?
About it that was necessary, man. Like even in like the first movie,
One second, Rohan. Let Daniel answer too. And then I know you have a lot you want to talk about.
We'll both go on tangents for this question.
I know. Let's not go to tangent just yet. But yes, go ahead.
Hit us off,
I
bro.
wouldn't say necessary.
Mm.
The fact that they were making a fourth Matrix movie, I wasn't too like bothered about in like the terms of the trilogy. Like I wasn't pissed that they were making another movie and they're like, oh well, they've already finished the story. Like what are they gonna do? Like I had high hopes for it.
Mm.
Looking at the movie now, was the movie they made necessary? Absolutely not.
Did you guys see the trailers? Both of them? I think there's two, right? 2 or 3?
They were pretty good.
Three trailers? Okay.
They showed the stuff that we were liking the Matrix to be like in the Matrix, right? I think like what you actually mentioned, Faiz, about like the whole story about Zion and stuff, right? And all the real world like human struggles and stuff like that. As important as it was, it's not nearly as cool as actually stuff in the Matrix. And this movie had a lot of stuff going on actually in the Matrix, and they, for the most part, really they stuck to the Matrix, and they were doing some cool stuff in it. There were some pretty cool fight scenes, definitely, and some really trippy editing going on, and like in terms of like
bullet time
skill, like skill in terms of filmmaking, like you definitely they're like just some competent movie makers here. But as just a movie like a trilogy worth like trying to resurrect and try to like squeeze just a single drop more of blood out of the stone. There was nothing really there. There was nothing really there to actually try to do. And like the fact they try to do it as cool as the movie looks, it was just all face and no substance, really, for the most part, man. Whatever substance there was, you could almost say the first movie like really tapped into the most of it. Really, you could get out of it. The fact that they made the second and third, like, come on, the first Matrix was such a hit. The like movie execs always trying to find like a trilogy to actually make more money, right? Like sequels to make more money. It just made sense for that time to try to do like more sequels from the first Matrix, considering what a smash it was. And the first Matrix changed movies and sci-fi's, period, man. Bullet time, like you said, right? But like, was there anything new here to be gotten? No. Just no, not at all.
Okay.
And it's just sad. Really, at the end of the day, it's kind of sad, but oh well.
The part that kind of gets me is that if you have seen any of the trailer, and this is full spoilers to anyone that's listening to it, anyone that's watching this video, that we're in spoiler territory as of now. So we're just going to discuss the movie in general, in deep length, what we thought about it and so forth. And what, at the end of the day, I don't even think we're going to do a grading system here because of the fact that, let's be real, it's kind of pointless. So this is just going to be like below zero. But overall, the entire third act is in the trailers. Entire third act is in the trailers. Down to the part of when they jump off the building and Carrie Ann Moss she also shares the powers of Neo, is holding him up. But down till that point, it's all in the trailer. The stuff that they showed, majority of it is all in the trailer. So
yeah,
and
I suppose like you're not really getting that much more interesting stuff out of the movie when you actually sit down and watch it in the movies than what you actually saw in the trailer.
The part that gets to me while I was watching the movie is how in the world did they make Neo boring? He has no fighting sequences that where he's like, yes, I still know Kung Fu. But do you? Because you're majority of the time, you're just pushing people with the force field. So like the whole point of the second movie where Hugo Weaving is just like Agent Smith, just pouring in and he's fighting every single person for a solid 10 minutes. What was the point of that? Like none of that he actually ended up doing in the movie at all. Right? But hold on, I have one more point, and then you guys go. And the second part is they're so overly aware of the fact, and they're kind of just touching base on it. They're like, oh, hey, we're going to tease you a little bit. We're going to tell you that, yes, we know. Isn't it cool how meta we're being that Warner Brothers is trying to ask you to make another movie that was a game series? Oh, we're so meta about it. And I'm just like, okay, this is cool, sure. It can go somewhere. But it's just going to be the point that, oh, hey, yeah, there's not one Neo, there's two now. And this Matrix is pointless. Oh, you guys, like, what did it conclude? Like, why was Neo needed? Like, that's I
got stuff to add to your meta stuff.
Go ahead.
So the stuff I found with the meta, like, I'll admit there are some things I liked about the movie, and I'll get into that in a minute. But the stuff with the meta, I found was just super distracting. Like, it wasn't subtle in any way. It just suddenly, like, it's movie, meta. And it's like, why? Why? It's not needed. It doesn't benefit the story in any way. And after it bugged me so much, I had to go research it.
Yeah.
And I had to look up. I googled, was she forced to make this movie? No, not in any way was she forced to make the movie. You know, she's like bashing Warner Brothers, saying, "Oh, like they're forcing you to make the movie." And I looked at it. Sure, Warner Brothers over the years offered the Wachowskis a lot of money to carry on the Matrix, and they always said no. And then with the pandemic and everything going on in their lives, especially with a lot of the changes they went through from all the stuff that they went through. But like I guess both their parents died and one of their close friends died, all relatively very close together, and that's a lot of trauma for them to go through. And Lily Wachowski decided that in order for her to come to terms with everything, is she didn't want to touch the Matrix at all. She didn't want to do any filmmaking. She'd been busy on lots of other projects as well. So her way of coping with everything was to take a step back from the whole industry and do her own thing. She went to school, she took up painting, and all this kind of stuff, you know, very introreflection. Lena Wachowski, on the other hand, decided that she took comfort in the whole story of Neo and Trinity, and basically just did a deep dive on that, and decided that the nostalgia and everything else with the Matrix brought her comfort, and decided that she was going to make the movie. She changed her mind and was like, yeah, you know what, Warner Brothers, I'll take your money. I like this story. I like the Matrix. I want to continue this. And so if you have that much like hope and that much like nostalgia for the characters that you invented, why would you go make a movie this bad?
Like, they legitimately were pulling the strings on the nostalgia so hard that they were using scenes from the first movie and recreating it. And that's the part that gets to me. It's like you have all of this, like when I first saw the trailer and New Rockstars, they were doing all these new dives in, and they just started discussing, oh, this would be cool because a world they talked about being all connected and so forth. We are living in this world right now. We are connected with everything. That scene in the elevator where everyone's on their phone and it's a shot from the top. It's like, no, like maybe there's a more significant meaning behind all of this. Down to a point, it's like, no, they just Neo and Trinity were just revived, and
and that I found that just bug, because it's like, if you want to continue the franchise, by all means, but they fell into the same trap that Star Wars did.
Sequel, well,
even just like Star Wars, sure, having a sequel to Star Wars was pretty cool, and in the grand scheme of things, it did advance the story. It's brought us into more avenues of, like with Disney making more of the TV shows and everything else like that. Sure. I personally, I think the sequels aren't that great, but they're good to have.
They introduced new characters that are actually kind of
And they found, especially with the very first sequel they brought out, you can tell immediately. Yeah, you can tell it's just a carbon copy of a typical Star Wars story. And I think that's the same thing they did with The Matrix. They try to basically just remake the first movie with the same actors, just with a different spin on it, and it just wasn't good. Like, there's so many different avenues that you could have taken.
But Daniel, you have to remember, they were aware of this fact. So that's why it's clever. You know, they were aware that this is exactly what they were doing. But yes, it have to be clever. But
like, the one thing that really stood out to me was I found the movie was just lots of different ideas for a movie all crammed into one. Oh, like, if you wanted to make a shot-for-shot remake of the original Matrix, sure. If you want to do a different spin on the Matrix world and have it in the 21st century, because, you know, the Matrix story is old. Like, people younger than me don't know anything about the internet back then, you know, with dial-up modems and broadband and everything else like that, and having to log in. Like, the internet in 1999 is not the internet today.
It's different. Yeah, that's true.
It's like you're plugging into a new world, and it's like, I found, like, especially like looking at different reviews, the one thing they pointed out is like, your new world, your own little Matrix, is on this.
Mm-hmm.
everyone's already hooked in online all the time, and that was another direction they could have taken was
Especially with virtual reality as well, with meta
virtual
now.
reality. Yeah, all those kind of ideas, and they hinted on it, but then waved right past it. It's like they took different ideas for what a Matrix sequel could have been, and it was like, we're gonna try and do all of them in one movie, and it just didn't work. Like the whole, I know you said Neo was like boring, but like the whole depression and reliving the day over and over again, not really knowing what he's knowing, and like all the little throwbacks in there, and like the blue pill and the blue lighting when he's in the gym, like all that was great. That could have been a whole story in one of
the black
and
cat
not necessarily
with the
Neo.
deja vu over and over again. Yeah.
And it didn't have to be Neo. It could have just been a brand new character, someone else.
This is the thing. Hold on.
Living in a different Matrix.
This is what I want to talk about. Is that okay? Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss character, those two, right? Even if they had gone ahead and done the whole Yahya Abdul Mateen II version of Morpheus, right? They could have just recast those two and put somebody else in. And then when he looks at himself in the mirror and so forth, they see versions of Neo, versions of, like, you would buy it a lot more than just showing, no, this is Neo. But when he looks at himself in the mirror, it's an older version of him. That's not what you're seeing, is what he sees himself as. But what the world is seeing, they're seeing this reflection. Okay. Well, you're not supposed to
got it backwards.
Yeah, why did you not just flip that on? Like, why did you need Keanu Reeves for this movie? Why did you need Carrie-Anne Moss? That's it, though, right? That's it. The cachet. That's all it is. Literally what it is. But
like I said, right, they're just building off of what the first Matrix was, right? That hit of the first Matrix, almost to even to this point, not even to like to it's like the own standalone effectiveness of the second and third one, right? Everyone really, when they say the Matrix, they're talking about the first one for the most point, bro.
Yeah,
Really.
100%.
So at the end of the day,
there was some good.
Just did a remake. Maybe they should just do a straight up remake, because a lot of the projects that you said, Fires, there's some shot for shot actual like recreations of the first freaking movie. They should have just did a fucking remake. And to your point, Daniel, maybe this was just the Matrix that the Wachowskis actually wanted to make in the first place, because there's some things that are way more obvious in this one than there was in the first one. But like overall, really, like it could be done. Like, could have been received better if it was just done as a straight up remake.
I do agree.
A remake would just take the Matrix universe, or the idea and the concept of the Matrix, and just apply it to the 21st century. Like this, like they use a little bit of it, like using mirrors to transport in and out, like that. That was cool. I didn't mind that. Like then some of the action sequences and. Like referring to everything as like old technology and old code, because it's 20 years old. It's old. Like in the way technology's changed and society's changed, like the Matrix movie doesn't really apply to this day. Like the world has changed significantly from back then, but you can still take those same ideas and just apply them in that kind of in the 21st century.
The Matrix idea transcend time. Yeah, I agree.
But yes. It wasn't good.
Sometimes I just have to maybe sit back and just think maybe there are more stories we can tell in this universe rather than just recreating the old one. And I'm seeing it like this is happening to like even in the video game industry right now with a lot of remakes and so forth. It's like I'll take God of War for example, right? God of War, if you've played any of the older games, when they rebooted the series with God of War 4, it felt like a reboot. At the same time, it felt like a continuation, because they modernized the game, they humanized Kratos. Because let's be real, Kratos is just a very angry person going around shouting and screaming. But like they humanized him, and they did it well. Where all of a sudden, this series that didn't once matters now. Same thing when it comes. There's a lot of video games that try to do that, but there's a lot of video games that are also being remade for the purpose of just bringing new audiences, right? When you look at what's the Resident Evil Raccoon City, that also came out. their attempt to completely restart Resident Evil, because yes, Resident Evil is a popular gaming franchise, and they want to sit down and they want to explore this in a movie universe one more time. Because the original series that they had nothing to do with the gaming series, except for just name and just a few monsters here and there, right? But a lot of times I'm noticing a lot of movies in general are not just movies, sorry, let me rephrase that. A lot of entertainment medium is really trying to go for that nostalgia, right? And reattempt to create the golden times. This is if they turn around and remake Harry Potter, but it's exactly the same as the first one, which would be Star Wars. They did the same thing. So it's like, why don't you explore more stories in the same universe? You could have shown us something else, like the stuff that happened in the video game, right? Maybe talk about things of that nature. Animatrix is fucking awesome.
I was about to say the Animatrix?
Animatrix is awesome. If you guys,
it was awful. My bad.
No, awesome.
The samurai world. Why didn't they do freaking Matrix as samurai?
They could have done so many different elements to it, different factions, what they're doing, and so forth. Even if you want to bring Zion in, like, there's no conflict. Like, legit, there is no conflict. Oh, why is Neo being brought back? Why is Trinity being brought back? Oh, because they are legend.
The new architect won more power.
But even that, like, why are they being brought back to Zion? Like, what is the fight that you're fighting right now that you need the one? There is no conflict. Like, yeah, no, he's a legend. It would be cool. So I found him and I brought him back.
Yeah. That I didn't understand anyway. It was like, why are suddenly these two individuals basically like the core piece of the Matrix right now? Why is it them and their powers that are running the whole show? And like, if they touch, then everything like, I'm like,
stretch. That was a stretch.
And the whole thing of the one, like, the one is number one. It's not the two.
Yeah.
So why are we making both characters equal? Why is Neo and Trinity both
that's for something
now
else,
the ones?
But anyways, yeah, let's not discuss that. But moving away from it too, let's look at Game of Thrones. Like, I don't know if you guys seen the House of Dragon trailer yet.
Like, what happens? Like, nah, like, I didn't bother.
No, it looks amazing. Even George R. R. Martin.
Yeah, the trailer for it. I'm super excited for it.
No. The trailer came out, but the first episode, the pilot, George R. R. Martin actually saw it, and he's like, gave his thumbs up, his blessings and everything.
Okay, maybe we're thinking of something else. Maybe we were talking about something else, and I got the two switched up.
No. So like, when you think about that, like, they're taking different elements and different periods of the story, and they're discovering that a little bit more. Why can't you do that? I know Star Wars does it, right? It's a massive world. They're looking the Bad Batch and so forth. I don't have a lot of investment in Star Wars, but you do, Daniel. The Farhad does. Yeah. So when you look like The Mandalorian, I watched that series. That was actually pretty kind of neat, right? Yeah. But like, you're
taking that whole universe and expanding it.
Exactly.
Same thing with Harry Potter with Fantastic Beasts.
Right. There you go. That's another option. They could have turned around and just redid the same thing. But like, I don't understand. Like, when you have these franchises that are beloved, like, why do you feel that it's a good idea to just butcher them like this?
I don't think they are doing that. I think that what happens is that this is like the shortest route to like potential financial success. They just probably looked at it and just was like, like, you know what? If we do it this way, we probably have a better chance of recouping our money and just make, because these guys are just like, I'm sorry, like, I hate to be cynical like that, but it's money. Bottom end of the day, it's the bottom line. I really like that motivates a lot of these movie companies, man.
Oh, for sure.
They're still under budget. They still didn't recuperate
106 million. They didn't show.
They don't understand the actual freaking like stuff that they don't even understand their properties like that.
That's what I'm saying, though, right? That's what I'm saying. When you have a beloved franchise, right? Like, at least the first one. Let's be real. Like, But if people really love the first one, but like when you watch it, you can watch the entire trilogy and you can say that, hey, it comes to some sort of conclusion, right? It's
definitely.
done. It makes sense.
Yeah.
And in this movie too, they turned around and say, yo, no, the peace was real. Yeah, it was attained. So it's like, all right, what?
But why?
Why is this
I'm just
necessary
surprised
then?
as well, especially from the Wachowskis, because they're, with the exception of the Matrix, they're known for making like standalone original stories.
Yeah.
Speed
Like
Racer.
they've done a lot of
Power
movies
Atlas,
and TV shows
yeah.
where like that, and they, with the whole criticism of the movie industry that they've been doing over the years of like, reboots and sequels and anything else like that, then try and be meta with this. But it's like, you're known for making standalone amazing stories that have no sequels. So why would you go and just ruin it?
Man,
It's upsetting, man.
That check must have been with a lot of zeros.
No,
many zeros.
It must have been, right? It's because like, what was the last big hit that they had? V for Vendetta, right? Speed Racer
Dude,
was
freaking sick though.
But like Speed Racer, Cloud Atlas, well, with Jupiter Ascending, I think was another one.
Oh man, I had high hopes of that, but
but it just, but yeah. So
The one thing I wanted to ask you, Fire,
yes, go ahead.
With nostalgia. So, with this movie bringing back older characters and exploring the trilogy of our past and the movies that we remember, compared to something like Spider-Man and exploring.
You see my point?
Yeah. Like, how can they do it so well? Like, I haven't seen it yet, Spider-Man, so I don't want to ruin too much. Have you seen it, Ryan?
No Way Home?
No, not yet. Have you seen it, though? Yeah. The new one? Yeah. Okay, so I already know, and spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen it yet, all 3 Spider-Mans are in it.
Yeah.
So they managed to bring back Spider-Man from all the movies, and they did it, I'm assuming, very well.
Yeah.
They had that nostalgia, and they pulled it off. So how did, like... You know what I mean? It can be done.
Yeah.
But I guess
the reason why Spider-Man works and Matrix does not work is because Spider-Man, first of all, does not completely give into this nostalgia and says, hey, you know what? None of these characters have any fucking growth. They're just who they are. And we're just going to retell the same story. And we're going to put in... Either we're going to recreate stuff from the old and turn around and say, hey, look at this. Doesn't this work? And Matrix would have been one of the first. I think Matrix is possibly the only fucking franchise that could have pulled it off by saying, hey, FYI, it's a deja vu. We're doing this. We're repeating the same thing and so forth because of XYZ. But they didn't. There was no, like, even that is growth. You see what I mean? But when they talk about Spider-Man, like all 3 Spider-Mans coming in, they honor the characters, man. They honor their legacy and they show growth. So the lessons that they have learned, those are passed on. Those are seen. So anyone that has seen all of them will get a kick out of it.
You're rewarded so much. Freaking what was his name? Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, right? His version.
Don't say a lot of stuff because he hasn't seen it. So, but yes,
right? But like that. Okay, you know what I'm talking about, right?
100%. Yes.
Scene, I got a little tear because you realize, like, you felt that in the chest a little bit,
and they're not side characters. They're actually in the movie. Like, sorry, they're not cameos. They're side characters.
Yeah, they push the story along.
Right. So so that's the thing. So you can definitely do it. Like when I go back to, like, I'm thinking again about God of War, right? There's a scene in God of War where you go back to like your past and you grab these blades of chaos. If you guys don't know what, like Daniel, if you don't know what blades of chaos are, these are those 2 weapons that are chained to his arms. And then those were his weapons that he had in every single fucking game. Like those were the iconic weapons. He didn't have it. The entire first part of the game, he doesn't have it. He has his axe. And you go back and you grab those weapons. And then people that don't know, that has not played the game, felt that moment because they know what the blades of chaos represent. But they also made it when he grabs it and you hear Athena's voice and she's talking to you and she's like, "You're nothing but a monster," and he accepts it. He accepts the fact that he's a monster. He was a monster when he had these weapons, and he says that he's like, "But I'm your monster no more," because he's going after his son. That shows growth. You're paying homage to an old character. You're rewarding anyone that had sat through the entire 8 games, but at the same time, for those that know barely a little bit of things, they know what the Blades of Chaos was. They know he was angry. He killed gods. You're still giving homage to them as well, saying, "Hey, you may not know this, but come on in. This is what the new story is all about." You can successfully reboot a franchise like that, but it's different because I'm comparing two different mediums, and you have a lot longer of a time. But you could have done it. In a TV series, man, you could have done it so it could have been done in a very different way.
Interesting. That's actually a good idea too. There's so many things that could have done.
Matrix TV series, that would have been a good idea. Yeah.
Right, for
like Watchmen turned out a pretty good.
Yeah. And
which one?
TV series.
Watchmen, yeah.
And that wasn't Watchmen. Like they took that movie and like they didn't have the exact same characters in it, but they built off that story and it worked out really well.
It was one season. It was one season, and that was it. They didn't want to do more. They're like, we told the story that we wanted to tell. But this like when I went in and I knew that there's gonna be a lot of parallels, and maybe this is because I watched a lot of like breaking down videos and all that stuff, but there was a lot of parallels that they were making to the first Matrix and nods to the second and third and talking about different things. It's like, okay, maybe this is the cat again and again, the black cat, deja vu, the snapping and saying we don't talk about crazy here. Like there's a lot of stuff that they were bringing it up to a point of, hey, Neo is trapped in the Matrix. He put the fail-safe in the Matrix because he knows he needs to be able to get out, which is Hugo Weaving's character and Lawrence Fishburne. So Morpheus and Agent Smith are the two keys of ways for him to awaken from this from the Matrix, which once again, it made no fucking difference at the end of the day, because guess what? At the very end, Agent Smith did what Agent Smith does. Yeah. I'm gonna send the zombie army against you to try to like make sure you don't escape. Why? He escaped. What difference did that make? Like a lot of stuff that they touched base, which was, what was it? Rohan, choice and the two were...
Yeah, the red pill and blue pill.
Yeah, but with choice, there was choice and control.
It's okay, you take the red pill, you wake up. You take the blue pill, you go back to sleep.
No, not that. Like, there's two themes that they always touch base on, even when the architect... And he's saying that
determinism, choice and destiny, or something like that.
Choice, free will versus destiny.
Yeah, free will, destiny. Yeah.
He's always destined to fail in the second Matrix, but he's talking about this is the 6th iteration, and every single time when you have tried to save Trinity, it doesn't work. She still dies, and he decides to fight against fate and go after Trinity, and she still died in the third movie. And you're like, okay, well, yeah, it doesn't make any difference, but at least he stopped the war. He was the one. None of that matters in this movie. The whole resurrection part, yes, you're resurrecting these people, these two iconic characters.
For what?
For what? There's no war. There's nothing. All because he was once a legend. But even in that sense, if you had replaced them with different different actors, wouldn't that have made more sense? Like, this is a legacy that he lived, and now these are new characters that once lived in the Matrix, that were the one, and then the power had, like, the architect, or even the actual I forgot, the sentient. They turn around and say, one person having that much power is just too much, so we're gonna split it. So this way there is no one. But Neo awakens, Trinity awakens, and they do this whole thing that they could have done it so much better, man. It's so depressing because
there's probably a different angle that we're maybe not considering, maybe, but overall, for the way the story unfold didn't really make sense or made it necessary to have this story to be told. It's unfortunate for all the nostalgia that we remember from the actual first Matrix and the subsequent trilogies. But hey, man, movie execs got to make movies and got to make money. So we got suckered, man. We got bamboozled. What can we say?
Yeah. If Lena Wachowski was that, passionate about those two characters, and that's, exploring their storylines is what brought her comfort and everything, by all means. But you can still have a story with those, because they died in the third movie, but it didn't take too much scenes or writing to just suddenly bring them back.
Oh, they
so
just
bring them back, but do it
piece by
in a different way. Not
piece by piece. They were
do it
revived.
back, but don't bring them back just to relive the first movie all over again.
MacGuffin, right?
Have them living in Zion and ruling Zion or something like that, and having a new challenge with the Matrix or a new threat or something like that.
It would have been so much better if they just never discussed the Matrix in that way. They could have just talked about what happened afterwards. What happened after?
Yeah, that should be more interesting.
Continue the story. What happened after?
The whole thing about the Civil War. They touched on it for maybe 30 seconds of that whole movie. That one little snippet of CGI robot war. And I was like, ooh, and then gone. I was like, okay. That could have been a whole movie in itself. No.
Or cynically, they literally could just be planting these seeds. All these stuff that were mentioned that easily could have been different movies or other movies, and they could just be like, "Hey, remember those ideas that we had in the Matrix Resurrection? Just see if we can resurrect those kind of stuff and see what we can make some movies out of them."
Well, the audience is
not anymore.
These guys would be down. They would be down to do that kind of crap.
But right now, they have come out and the audience has come out and said that they are not interested. Right, the whole concept of Matrix and everything. They're just not
give it a few years, man. Give it a few.
Let's see. Let's see.
What about the game engine test? Is that was that just to show off and look at the tie-in, or is that to say this is what we could do and we could make a Matrix video game? Because a Matrix video game with those graphics would be amazing.
If you have not played the tech demo, I will highly suggest you go and play the tech demo, because Unreal Engine 5 is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
Wasn't any.
Is that actually going anywhere though, or
I could imagine
it's just a demo?
So. I don't think they said
it's just a demo. It's just a demo for you to try out what it can actually do. Because especially the fact is that they give you the option later on. It's very on the rails. The first half, and then afterwards they're just like, oh, here's a city, explore. But the city is as dense as Spider-Man, but you can go in any car.
That was nuts. And each car,
fiddling around with it for a while. Yeah,
the cars handle differently too.
Dude, cars handle differently, man. Dude, that was.
So I like the settings too. You can change the weather, the time of day, everything, and the graphics. They hold up really well.
Yeah, so
pretty pumped.
Yeah,
I doubt they're gonna make a Matrix video game.
Dude, I'd be scared.
If they want to do that and have young Neo and Trinity like we saw in the demo, that would have worked. Bring the characters back that way.
I don't know. I don't know if the Matrix is really gonna hold up, even in the next 20 years and so forth. Seeing how much they've fell flat on their face with the fourth movie, I don't know if the property is gonna be ever as big as it needs to.
So you're saying if it did actually, if it was actually successful, at least more successful than it is now, they would have considered actually making an actual game of it and actually
maybe I don't know. Maybe they would have done. They definitely would have done something with the property, right? But I don't think after this movie the property has as much of a pull or cachet as they once hoped it did. 100 and what was it? 109, 106. That's absolutely ridiculous.
In this day and age, that's
105.5. Yeah, 106. That's ridiculous. And no shade to Sing 2, because I've seen Sing and I'm very excited for Sing 2 because the first one was really good. But when you're being beat and you're the Matrix,
Yeah.
that you
Yeah, Keanu Reeves. No, yeah, and it's still.
yeah,
Yeah.
it still didn't do anything. I don't know.
So I guess the Matrix is just something that's going to live in the late 90s, early 2000s, and stay there.
I think yeah, it's
It always
definitely a
man.
period piece. It's gonna
Yeah.
become a
Yeah.
period piece, and then we'll see. Well, let's see what happens. But I really think it would have they would have done a lot better if it was a TV show. Like there's short TV series that you can do all the time. You can elaborate a little bit more, much like the Eternals, Rohan, the way we were discussing.
Oh,
Right?
The Eternals as a TV series would have been magnificent.
So I loved it. I liked Eternals because I don't know anything about them.
But
Rohan knows a lot, so he's just like, this is
I
ridiculous.
know enough to know that an Eternals TV series would have like how they doing with the the WandaVisions, the Loki, like in that kind of format would have been awesome. Would have been awesome.
And the movie was long.
Benefited from
Yeah.
that, but
Yeah.
they just they
Did
never
you-
thought of
did
it.
you-
2.5 hours long.
Did you
Like,
see it?
They could have. Eternals?
Yeah.
No,
Ah.
I haven't watched that yet.
Yeah. It's
But
gonna
like
be on
the Matrix,
Oh,
it was
yeah.
2.5 hours long. So like it's clearly they had a lot of source material, or a lot of material they could have used. So
Mhm.
they could have easily made that into a TV show, or even like not even as a like a full length TV show, but like a limited miniseries, or like
Yeah.
Yeah,
6
that's what we
episodes,
mean.
5
Yeah.
episodes.
Six, seven,
Yeah.
six,
That's
seven
what we're
episodes.
talking about, man.
Yeah.
Especially the fact that they kept like in the very beginning kept talking about, oh, what makes a sequel? Talking about the same thing over and over. It's like it's just you did not do yourself any.
For a second, it was kind of cool, and then it just brought me out of the movie.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Because
I
you're just
noticed
like
that they kept on with it, man.
sucks. But since we were discussing MCU, I will just say one thing, guys. Guardians of the Galaxy, the video game. If you guys get a chance, definitely
Yeah.
play it. I finished it. Oof.
All right.
It is. It's.
Wait,
Not-
is there anything canon in it?
It's not. I don't think it's going to be canon to the MCU. I hardly.
Oh.
But they do mention, yeah, in a different timeline, different things, blah 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 blah. So
Oh yeah, I guess they could get
they'll
away
make
with that.
it. They'll make it that way. But oh my god,
Is the multiverse just gonna be that one thing they use to explain like different
Everything.
versions of games?
Exactly,
and
right?
TV shows? It's not canon, but it is kind of canon because it's in the multiverse.
But oh my god, definitely play it. It's amazing. But yes, final thoughts on Matrix Resurrection. I know we just. Is there anything you guys liked? Is there anything you guys liked in the movie?
The fights were cool. Some of the fights
Yeah.
were cool. There were some
The
scenes.
throwbacks.
Hmm?
Like the throwbacks were pretty good. Like the similar fight scenes to like the original movie and stuff. Like remembering like if it's been a while for me, if they hadn't gone and watched all the movies right before watching this in the theater, and
You
like
would've
it's
been
been
pissed.
ages since they've seen it, like watching this movie and seeing some of the fight scenes, being like, oh yeah, I remember that kind of stuff. Like Neil's fight in the bathroom was similar to the one he had in the train station.
Trinity,
It's like, yeah, it's kind of cool. Like, yeah.
Cops. Do you remember
Or the
like,
one where he's fighting Agent Smith at the end of the first movie.
Mm.
yeah, in the train
Like that,
station?
and then yeah.
Trinity when she was at her computer,
Mm.
and then
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
cops rolled in on
Oh
her.
yeah, right at the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like just some of like the Easter eggs were kind of cool. Like the black cat and like the aspects with the pills, and like the one thing I noticed was like the when Neil Patrick Harris's character, he had blue glasses on to symbolize the
Mm.
blue choice, and I was like, that's kind of neat. Like little, it was like small details like that. It helped a bit, but in the grand scheme of things, it didn't really make a difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the analyst did not live up to. The analyst was
No.
not a good villain. I did not enjoy the movie at all, guys. Like even in terms of like the effects and so forth, we've seen it. Like they even talk about it. Hey, 2 words, bullet time. This is the idea where I got all of this from. It's like, okay, great. It
wasn't bullet time the name of the filming technique they used
Yeah,
in the first movie. You can't just claim that as a superpower. Like,
so it just
oh, yeah.
I think I was expecting more than what I ended up getting. And I had a really bad like vibe. Like the red flag for me was when they started giving people, anyone that had the Cine Club membership, complimentary tickets.
Oh,
That was a red flag.
just to get people into the
and
theater to
that
watch it.
was and that was a day before Spider-Man. The fact that you're going up
Yeah,
against Spider-Man, you already lost. So that would have been like this. Maybe you would have made a little bit more money in January and February, but even now with like the lockdowns and everything that's happening right now, I don't know if they would have mattered. Maybe they should have just made it into streaming and just released it that way, right? So
they're not giving you complimentary tickets to Sing 2 or Spider-Man, so that sends a clear message right there.
So that was like the first red flag. So I was like, okay, no worries. Like let's see what ends up happening. And yeah, like I don't know. I was very, very disappointed. Very, very disappointed. Especially since I'm in the group of friends like growing up, I was one of the few that actually liked Revolutions. Nobody that I knew liked Revolutions. And I was like, no, it's cool with the robots fighting and the live Super Saiyan fight, but like otherwise, like seeing all three movies back to back on Blu-ray with I remember with Nima in our older house, Rohan, at 3000 Victoria Park, right? Like seeing all of it back to back and trying to like understand. Oh, as kids, we didn't understand the concept of half of the stuff that he was talking about. But now let's sit down and let's actually see what we can see. And going through film school and seeing the different, like how many times they dissected these movies just to say, oh, this part's cool, this part in terms of storytelling, like how meta are they going to get, right? This is the world that we're living in now. To now, oh no, we're just rehashing, bullet time, and just rehashing the first movie because we want you guys to remember. Hey, remember this was cool. Once upon a time, this was cool.
That's actually pretty good. That's actually a pretty good way to put it. Hey, remember Matrix? Remember how cool we were?
That's it.
Yeah.
Useless.
Absolutely. All right, thanks for your money. Goodbye.
Yeah. Space Jam 2 did exactly the same thing.
Which one? Sorry?
Space Jam 2.
Oh, Space Jam.
Yeah.
I was no interest in Space Jam 2 at all.
I had zero expectations, and I still wanted my money back. And I had it was bad. Like this is it. This is same thing with Conjuring 3 as well, man. The devil made me do it. That one hurt. That one hurt a lot too.
Because you're a scary movie guy, man.
Horror movies are my thing, man.
Yeah.
You got a 7.5. That's like a 9 in the horror movie Rectar scale. And it's just they were anyways. Warner Brothers, come on, man, get your shit together. You guys have so many properties. You guys do such a good job. Mortal Kombat was not that great either, but at least it was like decent.
Mortal Kombat, that was actually more enjoyable than this movie, actually.
100%. But like this year with HBO, I remember when HBO Max was announced and they were talking about, oh, is it going to be available in Canada? No, we're going to go get things through Crave. And this is going to be released, Justice League, blah, blah, blah. There was all these different things that they were discussing. It's like, okay, this kind of sounds cool. Maybe these movies are going to be good. Nope. Streaming, 100%. All of them fucking deserve to be streamed, man. Like, all of them. None of them deserve to be in theaters. Exception, Mortal Kombat, because that was a little bit different. But even then, I would say that's a matinee. Like go on a Tuesday or go when it's like $5-6. Like no, there's no fucking reason to go risk COVID for any of these movies, man. so upset with Matrix. But yeah, anyways, that would be it for us. Thank you so much for tuning in. In case you are watching the video, or even if you're listening in to our
rant
about this travesty of a movie. I don't think it really deserves a summary, which is one of the reasons why I didn't bother going through the summary. But yes, if I would not recommend this movie, and I'm sure the other two castmates will agree with me on this one. So
just wait for the streaming, guys.
Just get really drunk or high if you want to watch this.
And settle in because it's long. It is
a long disappointment movie. But we'll be back with another review sometimes relatively soon. I believe we do want to discuss the MCU TV shows. That would be the next one, so please tune in for that. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. And please, if you like, look us up on Patreon and leave us a follow or any kind of rating on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, because that truly helps us. Let us know what works, what doesn't, and we'll definitely keep your opinions in. But with that said, sending you guys all nothing but good vibes right now, even though this movie sucked, but sending you nothing but good vibes from your friends at Cast 5. Ciao.
Take care, y'all.
See you guys.